And the ibarat are almost wholesale shoplifted from Ghazali. It's essentially Ash'ari kalam. So he goes back through the Torah and all of these places where it implies that Allah Ta'ala took physical form and that Allah Ta'ala, changes in time and space. He makes ta'wil of all of these things. He interprets them. He makes some allegorical interpretation toward them, all in accordance to the methodology of the Muslim scholars, the Muslim scholars of theology. This is a gift that, mashallah, through the barakah of this ummah, even the Yahud, their aqaidah were straightened out. Seriously, it's not a joke. I mean, go read his masterpiece in Creed. It's called Dalalatul Ha'irin. The rabbis read it in translation because the original is actually in Arabic. And go compare the ibarat that he brings to the ibarat of Ghazali. It's like it's very similar. It's very similar. This is the gift of this ummah, that the understanding of Allah Ta'ala gives to other people as well. There's a lot of examples of this. It's not a history class. But there are a lot of examples like this. There's a group of Christians in the Eastern Orthodox Church. They call them the iconoclasts. Iconoclast means like idol breaker, butshikan, right? Iconoclasts. The movement in Eastern Orthodox Christianity was what? They said that we look in the Torah and we see that idol worship is forbidden, but then all of our churches are filled with all of these statues that we adore and we revere and venerate. Is it possible that Allah has given the Muslims the upper hand over us because they don't worship idols and that we do, that because of our disobedience of Allah Ta'ala, Allah gave them the upper hand over us? And this was a major movement. There are a great number of church fathers that followed this movement as well. And eventually they lose out. The pro-icon faction will win out over them. That's how Western history is written. But what's the reality? The reality is eventually all of the iconoclasts, they all end up becoming Muslims because they realize the batil of venerating statues. And so there's almost none of them left to hold the position of iconoclasm. And so afterward, the small amount of their faction that's left in the church, they're pushed out, they're anathematized in favor of idol worship. What do you think all of the people who live in Anatolia right now, all the people who live in Syria, all of the people who live in Iraq, you think that their forefathers were Muslims from before the time of the Prophet ﷺ? They were all Christians from before. They accepted Islam. Because what? Because the deen brought these things in a way that made sense. كما أنه محيي الموتى بعدما أحياهم استحق الاسم قبل إحيائهم كذلك استحق اسم الخالق قبل إنشائهم. So Tahawi tries to break it down and make an even simpler example. He says that we say that Allah is the one who brings the dead to life. Why? Has Allah Ta'ala brought the dead to life? No, the dead are still in their graves. I mean, there's a couple of exceptions, 2 or 3 exceptions that may be mentioned in the Quran, but they're exceptions. The exception teaches you nothing about the rule. However, it's intuitive to a human being that we would call Allah Ta'ala the one who gives gives life to the dead. Why? Because we know it's going to happen. It's a certainty. It's as if it's already happened. We just have to go through the motions, that's all. And that's how time is. Everything that was going to happen, it's already happened in some level of existence. We're just going through the motions. We ourselves have yet to experience it. So just like that, with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whatever was going to happen has already happened. He's seen it. He's intimately aware of all of it. And so just like that's intuitive to us that He's the one who brings the dead to life, just like that, He was the creator, even though the creation at some point didn't have cognizance of their own existence. ذلك بأنه على كل شيء قدير وكل شيء إليه فقير وكل أمر عليه يسير لا يحتاج إلى شيء ليس كمثله شيء وهو السميع البصير. It's a kalam musajja'. One of the brothers asked yesterday about the memorization of these books. Is it good to memorize these books? It's very good. The ulama used to memorize them, and they're written in such a way that facilitates memorization. Like, I haven't consciously sat to memorize the book, but many of the lines, if you start the line, I can finish it. Because of how many times I've read it, and also because the way it's written, the quality in the Arabic language. Even for those who don't understand Arabic, they see how it kind of flows off the tongue. It says all of these things are true because Allah Ta'ala has power over all things. He has omnipotence over all things. Everything is in need of Him, and everything for Him is easy. Now, what does it mean that everything is easy or facilitated for Allah Ta'ala? Yusr here doesn't mean like easy, hard, like, it's easy for me to walk across the room, but it's hard for me to run a marathon. What does that mean? That means that there's varying levels of difficulty. Yusr here in the terminology of Aqidah, it's akin to what we would refer to in physics as spontaneity. Allah wants something and it happens. Just like if you drop something from a height, it will fall down. It's seamless. You let it go, it will fall. There's no pushing that you need to do. It just happens on its own. Whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, kullu amrin alayhi yasir means what? That He wishes for a thing and it just starts to happen. That's just the way of the universe. Everything that He wishes is facilitated. There's no one that can do anything against Allah ta'ala's will. That Allah wanted this and then somebody else did something else and it angered Him. It doesn't work that way. We say that Allah has anger, but the meaning of Allah's anger is not like the meaning of your anger and my anger. Say kullu amrin alayhi yasir means what? It means whatever He wants, once He wants it, it's going to happen with spontaneity. Not that there's less resistance, but there's no resistance at all. In fact, that's the way things will happen spontaneously. Anyone here study thermodynamics? No? Yeah, like Gibbs free energy, right? It's like literally there's the quality of spontaneity in something occurring and the amount of energy with which it'll happen. It's actually quantifiable as well. Everything Allah Ta'ala wants, it happens spontaneously. There's nothing, it's like, if Allah wants something to happen, it's not like the bottle is going to fly upwards. It's going to go that way every single time. لا يحتاج إلى شيء. Everything is in need of Him and He needs nothing. ليس كمثله شيء وهو السميع البصير. Like the text of the Quran states, there's nothing like unto Him, and He is the all hearing and the all seeing. خلق الخلق بعلمه وقدر لهم أقدارا وضرب لهم آجالا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the creation according to His knowledge. وقدر لهم أقدارا, and He meted out for everything a discrete quantum, a discrete measurement. وَضَرَبَ لَهُمْ آجَالًا, and He meted out for everything discrete time periods as well. Now, there is sequentiality in creation rationally, but there's no sequentiality in creation chronologically. Do you understand what I'm saying? Probably not. If you're normal, you don't. So I'll explain. This chadar is black. Okay? It exists and it's black. Okay? Both its existence and its being black chronologically, meaning in terms of time, they're both simultaneous. Okay? However, there's sequentiality. Chronologically, there's no sequentiality. Chronologically, it's simultaneous. It's blackness and its existence. However, rationally, there's a sequentiality. Because why is it black? Because it's absorbing the light that's hitting it, and it's not reflecting any light back. So its existence is the cause for its being black. So there's in causality, one thing causes the other. There's a sequence in causality. However, in time, there's no sequence. So that's what we say with regards to Allah Ta'ala in the universe. When He says that Allah created the universe and Allah Ta'ala, measured discrete measurements for everything and meted out discrete time periods, right? So for example, everything is discrete. Like at the standard temperature and pressure, water will always freeze at the same time. At the standard pressure, water will always freeze at the same temperature. The frequency of a certain color of light will always be the same, etc. All of these things are set; they're fixed by Allah Ta'ala from the microscopic level all the way to the greatest of phenomena a person can think of. Allah Ta'ala measured all of these things out and fixed them. There's a sequentiality rationally. He made them, and thus they exist. However, there is no sequentiality chronologically. When He gives His commandment, that commandment's already happened. Not just like that, but the nadhir of that, something that helps us understand that is like the chadar exists and it's black at the same time. It's not that it exists, then it becomes black. So Allah Ta'ala meted out discrete measurements for all things. So we don't say like the deists say that God is like the great clockmaker, that He wound up the clock and He lets it run on its own. It has no existence on its own. Rather, He is intimately aware and connected with every frame in time and space. He's intimately aware and connected with all matters great and small. We don't say that anything is so small that Allah Ta'ala is not concerned with it. So the same three things that He created the knowledge according to His creation. He created creation according to His knowledge. Right? And when we say His knowledge, we mean His full knowledge, complete knowledge inside and out. And that He meted out discrete quanta for all things, and that He meted out discrete time periods for all things. This is mentioned in the Quran as well. However, it's mentioned with much greater style. Allah Ta'ala says in His book, وَمَا تَسْقُطُ مِنْ وَرَقَةٍ إِلَّا يَعْلَمُهَا وَلَا حَبَّةٍ فِي ظُلُمَاتِ الْأَرْضِ وَلَا رَطْبٍ وَلَا يَابِسٍ إِلَّا فِي كِتَابٍ مُبِينٍ. Allah Ta'ala says that no leaf will fall in the forest except for He knows it. What does that mean? Is the leaf following the forest a significant happening? Is it going to make the newspaper? No, we don't have enough paper to be able to document all of that. And it doesn't impact anybody, or seemingly doesn't impact anybody. So what is it? The thing is this, right? If the Quran, you have to be a person who thinks in order to understand it. If you're not a person who thinks, you're not going to understand it. You can recite it, you'll get reward from it, you'll get barakah and some spiritual benefit from it for sure. A lot of spiritual benefit. But you won't understand it until you actually use your brain. And you're not going to the part you don't understand is going to be greater than what you understand. So, but Allah Ta'ala states it with much greater style. This is just restating the same concept, except for like in a straightforward way, so even like dim-witted people like myself will understand it. There's no need to think too much about it. That a leaf doesn't fall except for He knows about it. Nor is there a seed that is hidden in the darkness of the earth. Nor is there anything that is wet nor dry except for He has, living or dead except for it's all recorded in a manifest record. Everything Allah Ta'ala knows to the detail. This is our Aqidah, that there's no portion of the knowledge except for Allah Ta'ala knows it intimately, and He's the one who fixed it, He's the one who made it that way. Now this is bad news for like the Indian music industry, that somebody is crying, "Meri chat ki barishein kisi aur ki, no, meri naseeb ki barishein kisi aur ki chat pe baras rahi hain." Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. The rain of my fate is now raining on somebody else's roof, and it's their rain. Otherwise, if it was yours, it would have been raining on your roof right now. It's very artful and poetic, but that's not how the universe works. A person who wants to adopt that mode of thinking, they're just going to harm themselves, they're not going to benefit. A person who synchronizes their thinking with the way things actually are, that person now has a chance to benefit. لم يخفى عليه شيء من أفعالهم قبل أن خلقهم وعلم ما هم عاملون قبل أن يخلقهم. Allah Ta'ala, none of the actions of the creation were hidden from Allah from before He created them. Again, here the sequentiality is in causation, it's not in chronology. Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, nothing is hidden from Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala from the actions of the creation before He created them. All of them are, just because you and I are not aware of our existence or are not cognizant or don't feel our existence, doesn't mean that any of our actions were hidden from Allah Ta'ala from beforehand. One thing is physical things, one thing is the actions themselves. None of them were hidden from Allah Ta'ala from before their creation. And Allah knew exactly what they would have done before He had created them. Now this brings up this whole issue of like, does a person have free will, or is everything predestined? And the answer is yes. Both of them are there at the same time. Does a person have free will? Yes. And is there predestination? Yes. Like a number of issues in Aqidah, this issue is only understandable when a person understands the frame of reference of the question being asked. What do we mean by frame of reference? Like if you take a basic physics class, anyone take a basic physics class? If you haven't, you should go take one. It's good. Alhamdulillah. They're like, well, that's a lot of math. Well, maybe you should take some math too. Math is your friend. If you don't take math, then like going to the casino seems like a good idea, And there's that's what they say, there's a sucker born every minute. And then in the Hashiyah it says, the people who don't ever study math, right? So in a physics class, right, kinematics, right, for example, right, the study of like motion. If I throw this pen that way at 30 miles an hour. Then from the frame of reference of a stationary observer, we're all stationary and the pen is going that way 30 miles an hour. But if the observer is also going that way 30 miles an hour, then the pen is stationary and all of us are going the other way 30 miles an hour. All of these issues, they're understandable through what? Through being able to frame the question properly. So is there free will? Is there predestination? The answer is it depends on your frame of reference. If the frame of reference is universal, it should be easy for somebody to understand that Allah Ta'ala, who transcends everything, who created time and space, who, if He created the knowledge, then His understanding has to be greater than the knowledge. Why? Because there's no table that knows the carpenter better than the carpenter knows the table. The fact that the knowledge exists means He knows it, and He also has to know something else more than that as well. That's not difficult for a person to understand. From your personal frame of reference, from my personal frame of reference, however, generally speaking, our experience is that I want something, I try to do it and it happens. I wanted a coffee this morning, I ordered it, they gave me a cup, I drank it. All of it happens, I initiate something and then it ends up happening for me. This is your personal frame of reference, and both of these things actually have a reality, and the deen affirms both of these realities. And the ulama of the sunnah, they considered it a bid'ah for a person to embrace one of these two extremes versus the other. So the person who says, I'm in control of my own deeds, even Allah Ta'ala doesn't control my deeds. This is a group of people, they call them the Qadariyah. And then the group of people is like, no, Allah Ta'ala creates everything and He controls everything, He knows everything, and I'm not in control of my own deeds. Right? This is a group, they call them the Jabariyah. Both of them are considered to be heretical. They're both considered to be deviants. Rather, the path of the Sunnah is to what? Anyone here from Lahore? Balle, mashallah, right? So the sacred heart of the city of Lahore is the mazar of Data Ganj Bakhsh Sayyid Ali Hajweri. And so people go there and they eat biryani for free, the biryani of sadaqah, and do all kind of other weird stuff. But he actually wrote a book, and guess what? Nobody ever reads it. Instead of like going and eating the biryani of sadaqah and like doing other weird stuff, listening to qawali, why don't you actually try to read the book sometimes? It's good. It's actually a nice book. It's called Kashf al-Mahjub. He actually mentions this. He mentions this in the Kashf al-Mahjub that he narrates from Sayyidina al-Hasan radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, the grandson of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that he said, this question of free will versus divine predestination, I kept the company of the companions of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and this is what they had to say about it. And this is the humility of Sayyidina al-Hasan radiallahu anhu. He's also a companion of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself, but this is from his humility. He said, I kept the company of the companions of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and this is what I learned from them with regards to this question, that a person must keep inside of their heart always the conviction that Allah creates everything and He knows everything before it happens, and He's in control of everything, that nobody has any will except for what He says. Someone says, well, I don't worship Sayyidina al-Hasan, I worship Allah. Okay, Allah Ta'ala Himself says, وَمَا يَشَاءُونَ إِلَّا إِن يَشَاءَ اللَّهُ. That people don't even desire things except for Allah desires for them to desire it, which is a very high degree of control. He says that the companions of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I noticed that they held the conviction that Allah is in control over everything, but when they would go about their day, they would go about their day as if they're in control. Meaning that knowledge that sits in the mind and in the heart, it doesn't obviate the responsibility that a person has to keep trying to do what's best on the limbs, as if they're in control. And this is a discussion, it will come up again and again in the book, and we'll discuss it, we'll unfold it more and more as the dars proceeds. وَأَمَرَهُمْ بِطَاعَتِهِ وَنَهَاهُمْ عَنْ مَعْصِيَتِهِ. So this is an interesting point. I wish we had a bigger whiteboard. Maybe someone can like go to Staples and like get one of those big rolling like whiteboards or something like that. It's good. You guys will, inshallah, learn a lot of ilm in this masjid. The masjid is not just going to be yelling and screaming bayans and fundraisers, is it? So you'll learn it. More and more ilm, there'll be use for it. So now I'm going to write something on the board, and it's going to be like barely readable by anybody. But do your best. Maybe you can take a photo of it after the session is over so you can look at it more completely. This is also, by the way, this is like kind of like an abuse of the mimbar. The mimbar should not be used for anything except for the Jummah khutbah, to the point where the ulama mentioned, some of the ulama, the bayan, they sit in the mimbar and they give it. Actually, according to the fuqaha, you shouldn't even do that. This should only be used for the Jummah khutbah, but I don't see what else we're going to do, so anyway. Well, next time, inshallah. There's always next time. So there's two words that come up here. Oh my goodness, and then the pen is the one with the thin edge. Let's see. Is there like a, yeah, there it is. Oh, awesome. But it's the same thing. The problem is the point is thin, right? So, khair. I'll try to be a little calligraphical here. For those of you who are unfortunate enough to follow me on Twitter or social media, you know that I fancy myself somewhat of an amateur artist. MashaAllah. Okay. Actually, is there anyone here who doesn't read Arabic? Raise your hand and I'll write it in English. Is there anyone here who doesn't read Arabic? The dars of the halaqah of ilm is one in which if a person is shy, then they'll waste their time, because if you cannot admit you don't know something, then you won't be able to ask and learn about it. So if there's anybody here who doesn't read Arabic, just raise your hand. Is there any sisters? Just raise your hand, let me know, and I'll write them in English for you as well. Good. Allah Ta'ala reward you. Allah Ta'ala open the door for understanding. Okay. So Tahawi says that Allah Ta'ala commanded the people to His obedience and He forbade them from His disobedience. أَمَرَهُمْ بِطَاعَتِهِ وَنَهَاهُمْ عَنْ مَعْصِيَتِهِ. What does this mean? If Allah Ta'ala is in control and nothing happens except for what He wishes for, and He has complete control over all things to the point where you and I don't even desire anything except for He desires us to desire it, why is it that there's so many people killing each other and so many people eating pork and so many people committing zina and doing drugs and all these other haram things? This is a good question. It's a very simple and basic question, but it's a question that should come to someone's mind if they're actually thinking about the content. And the answer to that is what? That Allah Ta'ala has two systems that He's running at the same time. One is called His tashri'. The tashri' is the divine legislation, right? That He said that this thing is fard, this thing is mustahab or sunnah, this thing is permissible, this thing is makruh, it's disliked, this thing is haram, it's impermissible, etc. That's something also that He created and that He made the commandment for. But His will is that, and then, so that's the system, is His what? His tashri', right? Tashri' has the same rule, it's the same root as the word sharia, that he legislated a sharia. Then the other system that's running is what? Is His takween. Takween comes from the same root as kawn. Kawn means existence. Takween, the nizam of Allah Ta'ala's takween, the system of Allah Ta'ala's takween is just the way things are. It's just the way things are. He created some people to be people who are people of disbelief. He created some people to be believers. He created some people to be pious. He created some people to be impious. He created some people who are born good and die bad. Some people are born good and they die good. Some people are born bad and they die bad. Some people are born bad, they die. All of these things. Someone will repent early in their life. Someone will repent, on their deathbed. All of these things, these are his decisions that he meted out for the creation. And so what is it? He created the things he created everyone the way that they are. And then he gave a set of divine laws, a divine legislation. And then there are two groups of people from his creation qualitatively. There are those people that their tashri' and their takween are in harmony with one another. They run in parallel with one another. And those people, by doing that, they live under a certain sifa of Allah Ta'ala, which is called his rida. My goodness. Someone might ask, how did Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam teach if he didn't have a marker board? Is this a bid'ah? It's a good question. It's a good question. He actually used to draw things in the sand. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There are a number of hadiths that is transmitted. The diagrams that he would draw in the sand, it would be transmitted. Problem, we don't have sand here. So either get a marker board or change up the masjid, get rid of the carpets, and that's what simahum fi wujuhihim min athar as-sujud. They used to make sajda in the sand. There's no carpets in the masjid. Right, the signs of their signs are in their foreheads from the effect of the sajda. And when I went to study in Mauritania, the masjid we had in our madrasa was like that. It was still sand, so you could tell the salat is over because people walk around with like a little sand mark on their forehead, and they get so used to it they forget it's there sometimes. Like it'll be there, and then like 15 minutes later they'll just be like, But khair. Those are the joys of iman that many people will never experience over here. Try that one day. This is like homework project. Go one day when the weather is better, not right now, you might become sick, right? When the weather is nice, go pray in the grass. You don't even have to dirty yourself. The actual sunnah is to pray in the earth, the dirt, sand, etc. That's fine. If that's difficult for you, go pray in the grass. It's a sunnah to make sajda in the earth. Making sajda in the grass it's permissible. It's mubah. Yeah. And so the group of people that their existence and their actions are harmonized between the takween and the tashri' of Allah Ta'ala. They live under a sifa of Allah Ta'ala known as his rida, as his pleasure, that Allah is pleased with them. And those people in which there's a clash, the tashri' is going one way and the takween is going a separate way, they're divergent. Those people live under a sifa of Allah Ta'ala known as his ghadab. I'm sorry because these are weird angles to write at. I'm sorry if it looks like hyper illegible. The idea is what? Is that nothing happens except for what he wants. And he created from the creation a certain group of people to be the subject of his ghadab. And he created a certain group of people to be the subject of his rida. This is also what Allah Ta'ala wanted. Again, someone will say, well, does that mean we're not responsible? We'll get to all of that. There's still so much dars left, right? We're not even finished with our first hour of today, right? Yeah. I see the clock from here. Trust me. I'm more aware of the passage of time than you guys are. This is we intentionally, by the way, we'll have a break in 9 minutes, okay? Or so. We intentionally put in 10 minutes of break every hour, not so that you can meet friends and make the connections of a lifetime and no. We put in break every hour because my experience is that makes it maximum efficiency so we can cram even more dars in. So when the time for break is called, don't socialize with people. Go to the bathroom. Go get coffee. Is there coffee, chai? Is that here? Right? Go send someone on a timmy run, timmy shimmy. If you feel like you're better than other people, you can go Starbucks or something, Spend money on the coffee. How much does coffee cost? Like $5 at Starbucks, you buy coffee, $5, Canadian dollars, maybe like $6, I don't know, right? And the money you spend is nafaqatan fi sabilillah. That will be counted as that you spent that money in the path of Allah Ta'ala. Don't get the double shot, get the triple shot. I got 4 shots myself this morning. I have to actually teach the class, right? Go do it and then be back by the time the next hour starts. That's what the break is for. We'll get to it, don't worry, I'm cognizant of it because I want to cram more dars in. That's why we're going to give the break on time, inshallah. The idea is what? That Allah Ta'ala knew all of these things. He created a certain group of people to be the subject and the madhar, the medium that will carry his what? That will carry his ghadab. And some people that he made the medium to carry his rida. Now, as a very practical note, right? Remember we talked about this yesterday, that there's like the Aqidah is the study of how the deen manifests itself in the mind, and tasawwuf is how it manifests in the heart, and the fiqh is how it manifests on the limbs. All those 3 parts, they work together, they fit together. So in terms of your spirituality, what does it mean? The knowledge in your mind that Allah created a certain group of people for His anger and a certain group of people for His pleasure. In terms of your spirituality, what does that mean? It means you're completely at His mercy. So there's 2 types of logic, right? You know, like a dolphin and a shark. A certain type of dolphin and a certain type of shark may be similar in size, and from a distance they may seem similar to each other. But a person who has a little bit of understanding will know there's a great deal of difference between the 2 of them, even though ostensibly they may look very similar. And whether or not a person understands the intricacies of like marine biology, you know, and like that one is like a type of fish and the other is a mammal, etc., etc. It's sufficient to swim with the shark for a while and to swim with the dolphin for a while to understand what the difference is between the 2 of them. The person of Iman and the person of Kufr, it's like a dolphin and a shark. They look the same, but they're actually qualitatively different. This is part of our Aqidah as well, by the way. We'll get to it though. There's a qualitative difference between the 2 of them. Just like you say that the shark is a type of fish and the dolphin is a type of mammal, right? The kafir is the manifestation, the walking anthropomorphic manifestation of Allah's ghadab. And the believer is the anthropomorphic manifestation of Allah Ta'ala's rida. And they both have like a different logic that appeals to them as well. Like, can you run an iPhone app on an Android phone? No. The iPhone has its own set of apps, and the Android has its own set of apps. Just like that, there's a different logic that runs with kufr, and there's a different logic that runs with iman. The logic with kufr, when you present them with this information, is what? Well, Allah's going to choose what He's going to choose, so what the hell, may as well have a fun time, right? May as well party. So Maulana Sahib said Allah chose it anyway, so may as well go have a Molson or a Labatt or whatever your drunkards and alcoholics drink in this land, right? Because it's not even my choice in the first place. Astaghfirullah, man. Maulana Sahib is sitting in the masjid talking about drinking beer. You're getting sawab for it actually, because you're learning Aqidah. What does a person of Iman, what is their logic? Their logic is what? If Allah Ta'ala is the one who makes this decision is entirely and completely in His hands. Then like I best try to make friends with Him and best try to ask Him as nicely as I can, not to make me the walking manifestation of His anger, of His ghadab. Both of those lines of reasoning, they have a certain type of appeal, and one will appeal to one set of people more than the other one. So this is Allah's choice, and then afterward it's your choice which one you end up with. And it's a secret between every individual and between the Lord Jalla wa Ala. But this is the explanation of why a person might see all this haram and horrible stuff happening out in the universe. This is the explanation of why that's possible, and still Allah is in control of all things. If Allah wish to make an entire nation of people, all of them are destined for the hellfire, this is how it's going to look like. Wal-'iyadhu billah, Allah Ta'ala protect us, and Allah Ta'ala vouchsafe for us iman, and make us the madhar of His rida rather than the madhar of His ghadab. وَكُلُّ شَيْءٍ يَجْرِي بِقُدْرَتِهِ وَمَشِيئَتِهِ وَمَشِيئَتُهُ تَنْفُذُ. Everything will flow according to His his qudra, according to the thing that he meted out in his omnipotence, his omnipotent will. And everything will flow according to his desire. And whatever he desires, that's what will come to pass. Tanfudhu, nafida, the literal meaning of nafida is what? Is when an archer pulls the arrow back in the bow and lets it go. Once the arrow crosses the threshold of the bow, that's nafida sahmu. The arrow is nafiz, it's gone. Right? Even though, imagine when the archer lets the arrow go, when the arrow just crosses the threshold of the bow is in the other hand of the archer. How close is the arrow to him? Very close. It literally could be like a millimeter away from his hand. If a person holds the bow with the left hand and shoots with the right, then literally the arrow could be a millimeter away from the left hand. Is he going to get that arrow back? Absolutely not. There's nobody who can move fast enough and grab the arrow out of the air. Even though it's so close, once it's nafiz, it's gone, it's done. This thing is going to fly. It's going to fly, it's going to hit a target. So that's what he means, وَمَشِيئَةُ تَنْفُذُ. If Allah wishes it, it's going to happen. There's no taking it back now. It's going to come to pass. لا مشيئة للعباد إلا ما شاء لهم فما شاء لهم كان وما لم يشأ لهم لم يكن. The creation has, the slaves of Allah Ta'ala have no desire except for what He desired for them to desire. وَمَا يَشَاءُونَ إِلَّا أَن يَشَاءَ اللَّهُ. They don't desire anything except for Allah desired it for them. He desired them to desire it. And so whatever He wished for them comes to pass, and whatever He didn't wish for them didn't come to pass. So this is good news, consolation for anyone who's ever been rejected by somebody they want to marry, or didn't get the job they want, or didn't get into the university they want. This is Allah Ta'ala's decision. This is Allah Ta'ala's decision. The one who, and this is very interesting, right? Again, this is the interface between Aqidah and spirituality. A person who doesn't study or know Aqidah, that person is a goofy Sufi, that person is a fake Sufi. How can you love Allah Ta'ala if you don't even know Him? Your Aqidah will strengthen your spirituality, and your spiritual intuition and your spiritual experience will strengthen your Aqidah as well. If Allah Ta'ala chose for you not to be with somebody, or chose for you not to be at a certain job, or chose for you not to move to a certain place, or chose for you not to get into a certain university, that's His choice. The one who loves Allah Ta'ala, that one will be happy with Allah's choice. Imagine, like a mother has a choice between, she goes into a store to buy something for her child, and she has unlimited means. So if she loves her child, what will she pick for the child? What's best? What's best? Allah Ta'ala has promised upon one who has Iman in him, Allah Ta'ala promises His love. The person who has sabr, patience with Allah Ta'ala promises him His mahabbah, or promises her their mahabbah. Allah Ta'ala will choose for you what's best. And this is something, this is one practical point in Aqidah. I want everybody to repeat it after me, and keep repeating it to yourself for the rest of your life. Just say it. Say, Allah's choice for me. Say it, Allah's choice for me is more beloved than my choice for myself. Allah's choice for me is better than my choice for myself. If you understand that, then it will console you. People want stuff. Everyone wants something and they don't get what they want. However, you control yourself knowing that I'm like the child that's crying because my mother is making me eat vegetables instead of cotton candy for dinner. It's actually, the vegetables are better for you, trust me. Right? Even though you may not want them, you may want something else, but Allah's choice for you is better than your mother's choice for you, your father's choice for you. If someone loved you, was in love with you, whatever good they would have done for you is nothing compared to the good that Allah will do for you. This is also part of our Aqidah as well. This is also necessary in order for a person to have true spirituality with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So inshallah with that we'll break until